Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view, from the Casablanca.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps. Today we're still down to just two conservative gimps. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the recent passing of the Queen of England and what's going to be happening with, the coronation of now King Charles and how that's all going to work out. And since Lloyd's got a great knowledge of English history, we could be talking about that. Also, we're going to be talking about the new special master that has been assigned to the Trump, I like to call it a debacle, the raid at Mar-a-Lago. We're going to be talking about that as well. But to start off the show, I want to start off with a moment of silence, since this is the 21st anniversary of the attack on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. So, okay. All right. So, let's get this show on the road. Let's bring in my co host all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. It is the effervescent Lloyd Mendenhall. So, Lloyd, where were you on that fateful day? You want to turn on your mic?
Yeah. I was at home, and funny thing was when I remember the Murrah Federal Building, and when it was attacked, and so here in Oklahoma, and my daughter-in-law had called and said, "Hey, there's been an attack at the Murrah Federal Building," you know. And oh, really? I turned on the news and watched what was going on, and you know, just weeks before that, when they had the trial of the Blind Sheik from the first attack on the World Trade Center. Judy had asked me. She says, "Do you think that'll ever happen here?" I said, "What in the hell's in Oklahoma for them to want to blow up?" Well, then we had the Murrah Federal Building, and my ex-daughter-in-law, now called and told us about. Well, on 9/11, I got a call, and it was right after the first plane hit. And my ex-daughter-in-law, she's my daughter-in-law at the time, she called again. Uh, you know, she says, "We've been attacked." And I said, "Where?" She said, "Well, in New York City." I said, "What?" And so I turned it on, and I'd been watching it for a few minutes, and or she said a plane had crashed. She said, I think it might be an attack. And so I turned it on, and then the second plane hit I'd been watching it for a few 5 or 10 minutes when the second plane veered into the tower. And I was like everybody else. I stayed glued to the front of it, in front of the television the whole time, for till late that night. And, I remember, specifically what was going on that day. And of course, I talked to my good mate Grant, and because he had family that was actually flying, it was supposed to go out on one of those flights, but for whatever reason missed it. And one of the other he had two cousins. One was supposed to be in the aircraft. The other one was supposed to be at the World Trade Center. The one that was supposed to be at the World Trade Center had taken their sister or cousin down to the airport, but then that she got bumped to the next flight or what for whatever reason. So neither one of them were there, but he didn't know that until weeks later.
Wow, that was amazing. For
Yeah.
myself, I was at work, and you know, this was when we could have radios at our station,
Right. Right.
and I had my earphone. I didn't hear anything. Somebody in our department said, "Hey, plane has crashed into the World Trade Center." So I
Yeah.
quickly turned over to the radio and listened, and then about uh, 15 to 30 minutes later,
Yeah.
another plane had hit the World Trade Center.
Right.
And about a half hour or so after the first plane crash, that's when the tower number one, fell.
Right. Right.
And then about 30 to 45 minutes after that, the second tower. And then you've heard about the crash at the Pentagon. And
Right.
it was like, the whole room was dead silent. It was just so quiet you could
Yeah.
hear a pin drop. And my coworker, who was working at the station, across the table from me, she was crying,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was a surreal day. I mean, I kept thinking, "Wow, this is our Pearl Harbor,"
Yes. Yes.
because
Yeah.
just about the same amount of people died on that day as in December 7th in 41.
Yeah. And of course, I had an uncle who was in the Marines when Pearl Harbor was attacked, and they had done a ballast run, which basically they loaded a ship up with service members and took it for a run. And if it passed everything and everything was good, then they'd go up to Pearl and come back to Treasure Island. And if everything was good, well, then they'd arm it. They'd put all they didn't want to waste a lot of money. And, if it sunk and drowned a few Marines, that was okay, but they didn't want to waste and lose all those big guns. And, that was what he told me. I don't think that's, but, and so, and my mother and my dad both told me what they remembered of Pearl Harbor. So,
Mhm.
you're right. This was our Pearl Harbor,
Yep. Hmm.
you know.
I mean, it almost reminds you of the day when Kennedy was assassinated. Everybody
Yes.
remembers that day. I was only 3 years old, so I don't have any real memory of that other than watching the funeral procession
Yeah.
at D.C.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I remember when Kennedy was assassinated that, there in Denver, when they fired off the cannons for his funeral, they also did it in Denver. You could hear them going off. You could hear the out at uh, uh, Fort. I
Lowry.
can't. No, no, not at Lowry. The cemetery out there, National Cemetery,
Oh
Fort
yes, at Fort
Logan.
Logan.
Yeah, Fort Logan. I couldn't. My grandfather's buried there. My uncle's buried there, but I couldn't remember the name all of a sudden. Yeah,
Yep.
and they fired it off there too. So it's like it was almost coordinated because I heard it other people say that they heard it too. At different parts of the country that those that remember what happened when Kennedy was assassinated. So yeah, we've lived through a lot of history, but nothing will ever match in my memory.
Right.
Or very few things will match in my memory of what 9/11 was. And I think I don't know whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, or how I feel about it now. I thought at the time, I thought it was a little cheesy, but all of the senators got out there, and saying "God bless America" or whatever, and I thought that's just a photo op. That's the way I felt
Yep.
about it then, and I think they
Hmm.
pretty well showed that's all it was because a lot of those people that were involved with that showed their true colors later on. So,
Yep. Hmm.
but
Yeah, I mean that for a brief moment, a few weeks, we were united.
we were, and it's terrible. I heard one of the people today say they lost. I think two. He lost two uncles, and he said to the people in the barrier, he was referring to the politicians that were standing around. It didn't on 9/11. It didn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, conservative or liberal, or black, white, gay, straight. and whatever other genders people have used nowadays, back then, you know, it didn't matter. We were Americans, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what we have lost track. We've lost sight of that,
Right. Right.
you know, and it's sad, and I hope it doesn't take another 9/11 uh, type incident before we come back together again. I have an idea that's what it's going to take, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so,
That's sad.
but yeah, day I'll never forget.
Yep. Same
I
here.
mean, one of the things I remember is it really haunts me is somebody on YouTube put together a string of the images, videos, and they put it together, and then they used the song, and I'm sure everybody's seen it at least once, the song "Only Time" by Enya. That is one of the most haunting videos I've ever watched. I mean, I watch
Wow.
it to this day, and it still brings tears to my eyes because that music was just beautiful for that and uh, I don't know who did the original one. You got to remember this was what 2001. We didn't have high speed internet, so it took forever for it to download before you could play the whole damn thing because we were still using dial up.
Yeah.
And we were
Right.
actually up in Kansas. We'd gone up to visit our son and daughter in law, and they were still using dial up at the time. They didn't have DSL yet, so
Yep.
you know, uh, it was well they did. We had it. We had DSL here, but they didn't have it up their ranch.
Yeah, that's right, Mike.
Right? Exactly. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I heard one of the guys today says, is it going to take? He says I will be coming up here every year for the rest of my life, reading these names and remembering my loved ones, even though I'm too young to remember them. He says,
Yep.
and I will do it to the day I die, and I will go where if we have another one of these tragedies, I will do that there too.
Right.
He says, I hope we never have that in my lifetime. And
Yeah.
that's
I hope
that's
so
it.
too.
Anyways,
Alrighty, so let's go on to our first topic. A couple days ago, the Queen of England passed away at the age of
I did not know
96.
Elton John passed away. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
my
So
mistake.
I wonder if we'll be hearing her music all day.
Yeah,
Oh, that's bad. I'm sorry for you folks in Canada and all the Commonwealths. That
yeah,
was
yeah.
tasteless.
Well, it's of course Judy and I started watching here. I don't know, a month or two ago. Or 3 or 4 weeks ago, we started watching The Queen on Netflix, which is
Hmm.
a pretty good rendition. Gives you some historical facts to go with it,
Right?
and uh, we all knew that it was. Those of us now all knew that it was going to happen. But back when I was 21 years old, I never thought Queen Elizabeth would actually die. I thought there'd be a Queen Elizabeth until I was dead.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because at 21, I looked things a lot different than that.
Hmm.
But it's hard to imagine that we now have King Charles III.
Yep. Yep. And just think, it was her uncle that was king for a short period until he abdicated, and her father became king, and
Became
that's
king.
King
Yeah.
George. But he was only king for not very long. I think, from the 30s till like 1952. So
Something like that.
maybe
Yeah.
not even 20 years. You
Well,
know?
it's from like 39 that Edward abdicated? I can't remember now.
Yeah, somewhere
I
around
think it was
there.
1938, 39 he abdicated.
Mhm.
Edward VIII did. And here's a little known fact. They were planning his coronation. They'd already started the planning of it. And it's one of the makers of Royal Dalton China. They made, and you can buy them. They made coronation mugs,
Uh-huh.
or they're porcelain, and uh, they made coronation mugs for Edward VIII, and they're still available. I mean, you can buy them on, and they're not that expensive because they had all that stuff that they were making. They had to make it months in advance, and then he abdicated. So, but there are some. They were to commemorate his coronation, and there's some. There's some uniqueness about Charles. I wondered if he would pick King Charles because, it's got kind of a,
yeah. He's going to be Charles III, and
yeah.
Well, Camilla will be Queen Regent.
Camilla. Yeah, no, Queen Consort.
Consort. That was the other one.
Yeah, she's a consort. See, and that was set in play by Elizabeth II because, if you remember, Prince Philip was never called King Philip. He was always Prince Philip.
Right. He was actually Prince of Greece.
Greece, yes.
Yep.
But he had to abdicate that in order to become a British monarch, marry the Queen. British citizen. Although he was a citizen anyways.
The Prince of Marlborough?
No, he was Duke of Edinburgh. What he was.
Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah, Duke of Edinburgh. But the thing is she wanted to, and of course, there was a lot of upset because it should have changed from the House of Windsor to the House of Mountbatten. Because that was his last name, because Mountbatten adopted him. And and so it was related to him distantly, but it adopted him for purposes of him marrying into the royal family. And it should have gone to, she should have taken her husband's last name, but she didn't.
Right.
And because she didn't want to break the Windsor line.
Right.
So it wasn't until years later that she finally told all the children and the grandchildren that if they wanted to go by Mountbatten or Windsor Mountbatten, they would be allowed to do that.
Oh.
But yeah, it should have been the House of Mountbatten, right? But there was a lot of nastiness with Mountbattens and Edward and stuff like that. So,
and plus, the Irish didn't like him very much either.
No, they didn't. And that was the funny thing. He was actually a supporter of the Irish Republic.
Yeah.
And had a lot of friends, but the IRA at the time just was not.
Well, didn't they assassinate his
They assassinated
his
him, yes.
Yeah.
They assassinated Mountbatten, yeah.
Yep.
Blew up his yacht.
And you're right, Mickey. King Charles will be on the new currency. So if you have any British pounds and I do have some, I will be saving those. Those will be valuable down the road. So
yeah, they'll be worth.
If you get a hold of some of the first circulation of coins and bills.
Image, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yesterday is when they put into play that stuff, and when he took his oath,
right?
And or his it was
title.
Yeah. Well, he took the title immediately after.
Right.
She died. He became Charles III, and he chose to go by Charles III. He could have gone by George. He could have gone by Arthur. He could have gone by Philip, but he chose Charles. And I think a lot of people would have loved to see him known as King Arthur, but
yeah,
he would have been King Arthur the First.
Yeah,
because the real King Arthur wasn't, the one out of the tales of King Arthur. Didn't exist. But there was an Arthur, but anyways, but yeah, when yesterday the Privy Council and the Mayor of London and there were several other councillors, they came up and they asked, he had to go through like 3 pages of stuff, and they asked for authorization to use the current seal until a new one could be made so that they could continue, because officially, once she died, all of their seals were worthless until he signed the paper approving them. and he
Right.
had to sign it. And of course, when he took his oath of allegiance, and his
Mm-hmm.
position in the office of the king, he had to sign some papers, and he gave a nice little speech about being like his mom and wanting to dedicate his
Right.
life. And the
Hopefully
other thing,
he'll tone down some of his
well, this
rhetoric.
is, I think if he follows along with what his father taught him and his mother, he probably will not be. It'll go to the Prince of Wales now, who will pick
Right.
up that mantle, because as Prince of Wales he could get by with that. As king, he cannot.
Right.
It would violate so many protocols. And Queen Elizabeth said herself, the hardest job of being a regent of this, or being a monarch, is to do nothing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You can't make a choice about anything. You can have your personal opinions, but you can't talk to any of the secretaries or any of the prime minister,
Right.
any of them. You're not allowed, because that's what Charles was famous for, was writing to all the ministers to browbeat them into, looking at climate change. But from what I
Mm-hmm.
understand, the way they're thinking right now is that he's probably going to tone it down, just because
Mm-hmm.
that's the way his mother ran the office.
So, next in line, that would be William will be next in line.
William, yes,
Yeah.
Prince William,
Because
he is now.
Harry has basically given up his royal title.
Harry would not be in line anyways.
Oh,
Harry is
because
out
he,
of the. No,
yeah,
it's a direct lineage from. So it's the queen, then it's the oldest son or the
right,
oldest daughter, which would be, of course, now Charles III. Behind him would be Prince William. Behind him is George, William's son.
right.
Unless
Mm-hmm.
unless George dies, William dies, and they all should, like King Ralph, that really stupid movie. If they had
Right,
something like that happen, yeah, he
yeah.
could take over.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the fact he stepped down from all of his official royal positions, I think it removed him from
Mm-hmm.
the line of the throne. Even, I mean, it would have to be a real fluke. It could go to his son though. Well, no, he only has daughters though, doesn't he? So it could go to one of his daughters,
Yeah,
but that would require wiping out a good part of the family. Which
right. And Andrew has been stripped of all of his titles
right.
because of some of the shenanigans he got involved in.
Yeah. Now, is he the one that was married to Fergie, or was it Edward? I can't. I always forget which one married
Yeah, that was Andrew, who was married to
Andrew.
Fergie, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then well, he was hanging out with old Jeffrey Epstein,
Oh
so,
yeah. Well, here's something. Do you know who got the corgis?
William.
Nope.
Oh, who?
Andrew and Fergie,
Oh, okay.
because she was still very much involved with the royal family, and she actually would go out and walk the dogs for the queen on occasion. She was sort of the
Right.
royal dog walker, and they knew her and they loved her. And of course, Andrew was, and of course they stayed. They, for a longest time, even after their divorce, they lived. She lived at one end of their castle, and he lived at the other end, because that way they could be involved with their daughters' lives. It's very,
Oh,
amicable divorce.
oh,
But yeah, the corgis and the dorgies, and I think there's a spaniel, cocker spaniel. Those,
oh,
I was trying to think. But
right.
yeah, a dorgie is a dachshund and a corgi combined. Got to be the
Oh.
ugliest damn dog in the world, but a
Yeah.
fat wiener dog. Because corgis are fat. But
Well, funny you should say something about the corgis. Just before the show, I was going through Facebook, and someone had a really poignant uh, drawing of one of the queen's corgis looking back, and the leash is on the ground.
yeah,
I thought, oh,
yeah, that's Yeah, it's a different history just changed
Yep.
in this short period of time.
Yep.
uh, because I mean, all of us here, everybody right now
Hmm.
knew who, and there was you had Queen Elizabeth I, Queen Victoria, and then there was the Queen. When you said the Queen, everybody knew that was Elizabeth because she served longer than any monarch in the
Right.
United Kingdom and longer than any monarch in Europe.
Hmm. Yep.
I mean, my God,
And
even outlasted
Charles
Fidel
becomes
Castro,
the oldest
the
to
oldest to be
become king.
crowned king. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, and
So,
his coronation. I'm not sure. I haven't seen when they're going to do it, but I suspect that
yeah.
it 6 months to a year probably
Yeah, something like
before
that.
his
That's what I've
coronation.
been reading because he's gotta practice. You know, you gotta practice going down the
Right,
aisle
right,
and
right.
putting on
Oh,
the
I'm sure.
crown. And he's got to
I'm
hold the orb in one hand and the
and
scepter in the
scepter in
other.
the other.
Make
Yeah,
sure he doesn't drop it. You
but
know how
I'm
much
sure
that
that he's
crown
probably.
weighs?
Oh God, I know it's humongous amount of
23
weight.
pounds.
I was going to say I was thinking
How you
25,
like
so
to
that's
wear
close. But
that on your head?
no, they say heavy is the brow that wears the crown. I can see why.
Right,
20,
right. That was a
almost 25
Shakespeare
pound.
quote.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, almost a 25 pound uh, crown. That's just like
Mm-hmm.
you know, and and I really need. I've been meaning to for the last 3 nights to get hold of talk with Grant, and because he was a bit of a royalist. I used to tease him all the time because they have these special days all through the Commonwealth, and I said,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, oh yeah, it's another 3-day weekend. I said, what is it? Prince Charles changed his knickers this week, or is it the Queen changed her knickers? What? I used to
Yeah.
tease him about that, but they
Yeah,
take
they
their
do.
history and their
Yeah.
holidays very serious.
Even
It's
the
like
Canadians do.
yeah, it's like Anzac Day.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
the Day of Gallipoli. They remember that stuff. That's from World War I.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
yet, you know, that generation is dead and gone. I mean, there's not a. I don't think there's a. I know there's not a World War I because I think
Nope.
the last one just died here about 10 years
Yep.
ago, and he was a
Mm-hmm.
British soldier, and uh, so yeah, uh, they still remember that even today. But yet, you know, we can't hardly celebrate 9/11 without it. Of course,
Right.
the liberals had to jump in about Queen Elizabeth was a imperialist racist.
Yeah.
On
Well, to be fair,
MSNBC.
I did see some nut jobs on the right spouting off saying, "Why are the flights over the half staff?"
Well,
Well,
they're
they were our ally for over 100 years, and I mean, we were still.
yeah,
I mean, we have that connection through language and history.
yes,
So,
yes, and
so when
and she was the longest serving monarch in history. I mean, that is she's met what 15 presidents. She's gone or no 14 presidents and 15 prime
right.
ministers.
So, who was the
And
only president she didn't get to see? Was that Kennedy?
Lyndon Johnson.
Oh, oh,
Never met Johnson. Yeah,
wow, interesting.
yeah. Well, this is right up my alley. Knowing some of this crap.
Yeah, because I
Well,
know you're pretty big on uh,
on English history,
English
English
history.
literature. Yeah, and it's like we were discussing the. That's why I knew about the lineage because I just been talking to my son about it. And they were the other day because he couldn't keep it all straight, and of course,
Hmm.
that's part of what I learned. How many, and technically, if they had followed Henry VIII's will, there would be a King Ralph, or something along that line,
Hmm.
because the lineage that they went down uh, ended up, once Elizabeth died, it should have gone to his older sisters or his younger sisters, line, but they didn't follow that, So, there's a lot
Right.
of history tied up of why they did and why they didn't,
Right.
and it ended up following the Stuart line.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
wasn't Henry a Tudor? Or was
he was a Tudor, yeah.
yeah.
So was Elizabeth. Elizabeth was also a Tudor.
Already
Actually,
okay.
actually, it
So
was his father was Henry Tudor. Henry VII was his father, and then Henry VIII was, of course, next, and then Elizabeth. Well, actually, Mary Tudor, and then Elizabeth Tudor. So,
alrighty.
okay, what else
All
in news?
right.
We're through with England
Let's
now.
move right along. So, also in the span of the last couple days, we've had some big news on our side of the pond. There's been what's called a special master assigned to how would you call this? The Trump investigation, the
Uh, you know,
Mar-a-Lago.
and I to be honest with you, I call it the Trump investigation, but I'm not even sure it's that. I call it
Yeah,
the Trump witch hunt myself, but
yeah, yeah. It is.
I think what they're going to find is it doesn't matter who the master is and who they get to pick. I don't
Yeah.
think they've assigned it yet. They've okayed it, but yesterday I think, unless they have picked it already, but
I think they
they both
have.
okay, because Trump and the Attorney General both put forth their choices,
Right.
and but I hadn't looked today to see if they had picked out who it was, but the problem is even if the even if the master goes through and says this can't be and this, you know, what their job is, from my understanding, is to catalog everything and anything that
Right.
would be considered uh, client privilege would go back to Donald Trump and his lawyers.
Right.
But this was such a broad; it was just a general warrant. I mean, it covered any place that the president would reside, would sleep, or whatever. Well, under the Fourth Amendment, that's, you know,
Yeah.
excessive search and seizure. It's
Mm-hmm.
protected. And so, even if they found something that said, you know, he was a clone of uh, Putin. It turns out he wasn't really Donald Trump. He's a clone of Putin. Even if that was found out and it was on that, they couldn't use it, because of the what they call it, spoiled
Yep.
fruits of the tree, because they took it with an illegal search. Because of the Fourth Amendment. The a warrant has to be defined and specific, you know,
Right.
and they need to list what they were looking for, what, and there was none of that.
Mm-hmm.
None of that. You know, although they've blacked out all of the affidavit used,
Yeah.
and sorry guys,
Yeah.
I
It was
lost the tooth. It's
basically a
driving me
witch
nuts.
hunt to make
Yes, yeah,
sure if they find something to nail Trump with, to make sure that he couldn't run for president again.
right,
Because
right. That's
I
what this is
mean,
all about.
really, why are they so flipping afraid of this guy? This is what
Well,
really gets me is what
well,
what does he have that makes him are they afraid that hey maybe he'll do some good things and the people will say you know what this guy he's not a bad dude let's follow his party.
yeah.
Are they
Well,
that worried about
no, I
losing
think
control of
what they're
power?
worried about. No, well, yeah, they are. I mean, that's what it comes down to. There's two things I see in this. Is one is they are scared of losing power. Well, three things. They're scared of losing power. Two, this is a diversion tactic. This is looking
Yes.
let's look at the man behind the curtain. Ignore the man behind the curtain. They don't want us looking behind the curtain because we'll find out that we've got a poor economy, we've got high prices, we've got job numbers aren't good, we've got
crime
safety.
rate.
We got crime rate, and the border. There's all sorts of things that hopefully the local Republicans that are running for their office will get out there and hammer those.
Yeah.
Forget Trump right now, but that was, and Joe giving that speech a couple weeks ago, this was all he doesn't care whether he's liked or not, as long as they look, if everybody focuses on Joe Biden, they're going to forget about, so there, and plus, the third thing is I think they were looking for, because he might have had stuff related to some of the stuff Hillary did, like the Russian collusion,
Right.
and that stuff, and that Joe Biden did, and he may have had access to some of that and took it, and they're scared that they're trying to find that stuff. It may be the stuff that's missing, and they don't want him to use it, thinking he'll use it for blackmail, but he might use it for political gain, or he might just, it's one of those things like, I wonder what they really did, and that's what they want to find out. What did he take with him? So,
right.
I think those are the three main factors. It's all about keeping Trump from running, keeping control of the Congress and the Senate, because they were tanking, and now they're coming back up. People are starting to pay closer attention, and the more we bitch about Mar-a-Lago, Trump's a big boy; he can take care of himself. The less we're talking about the economy, the less we're talking about the crime rate, the less we're talking about the open borders, and so that's what this is all about.
Yep. So Republicans that are running for office this cycle, they need to stay on point. Don't diverge off of your game plan. Just keep hammering, because we got less than 2 months away. Actually, we got 6 weeks here in Colorado, because we get our ballots in the middle of next month.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And the thing that strikes me is, oh, never mind, I lost the
thought. Well, we'll take care of that. One of those moments.
Yep, definitely one of those moments.
Yeah.
And I can't remember where I was going with it, but yeah, I mean, I know what I was going to say. Anybody who watches us or has friends that you talk to us about, make sure you call your congressman, or if you get a chance to meet him, make sure you tell him, hey, don't worry about Trump. Because one of the things, that's another thing they're doing. The DNC has spent a small fortune getting pro-Trump Republicans to win their primary.
Yeah.
The Democrats have been helping them win their primary. This may come and bite them in the ass later, but they're taking a gamble. What else have they got to lose other than the seat? They were going to lose it anyways if they didn't do something.
Actually, that didn't work here in Colorado. They were trying to get Ron Hanks to win, and Joe O'Dea won, and now Michael Bennett is running ads about abortion.
Yeah.
Saying, Joe O'Dea, he said he'd vote for those anti-abortion justices to the Supreme Court. How could he? He's not a senator, and besides, abortion is legal here in Colorado. So,
and that's the message that this election and taking back the House and the Senate, it's all about what's local. It's what's, and as long as, if they get, that they're going to use abortion as a sign, and they need to point out, wait a minute, they didn't outlaw abortions.
Right.
They turned it back because that was a decision that should have never been made.
Right.
They just corrected a 40-plus-year-old mistake. they just put it back
Well,
where it should have been.
we got a visitor all the way from Port St. Lucie to give us his 2 cents. Let's welcome Uncle Bill Ronayne. Welcome, welcome, Bill.
All the way from hell. Hi, guys.
Yeah. Hi. I like your background. That's
You like
hilarious.
that?
It looks better
It's
on
well-
you than it did on Joe.
It's well thought out.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole thing with the Mar-a-Lago raid, he's just got to return those bathroom towels and soaps and stuff and just be done with it that he took out of the White House.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
These people, they stay someplace for 4 years and they think they can, empty the place out.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's a distraction. It's baloney. They were hoping they might get something, but they knew there was nothing there. Actually, there's a lot of people that believe that they were concerned that they had evidence.
Oh, yeah.
Against the FBI, against the Justice Department, having to do with the fake, the fake hoax with the Russians and so on. But who knows what they're, what they're trying to throw at him. But it's been 6 years of just throwing enough shit at him. Stuff at him. Sooner or later, hopefully something will stick. But in the meantime, it's a distraction before the election. I mean, it's pretty obvious what they're doing. I mean, they donated how much money to Donald Trump backed people?
Yeah,
so that they could, they wanted them to win
the hundreds of thousands of dollars doing that. Yeah,
they try to get the MAGAs to which they would have won anyway. But the idea is they want them in place because they think they have a better shot at beating them than they did they're more middle. It's all baloney. It's all politics. It's all crazy. The president, these idiots that got on TV calling him Mr. President Sticky Fingers needs to. It doesn't work that way. These are presidential documents. They're all documents he'd had access to while he was in the White House, and you could declassify them anytime. All the presidents take home documents and information for their future presidential libraries. It's common practice. There are laws in place which allow him to do this. It was crazy. There was no dire need, or and actually he was letting them have them back anyway because he could have gotten them back later or made copies. Who the hell cares? I mean, again, this is what is so secret now that was from he's been out of office for 2 years. If there was anything that was dire, it's gone dead a long time ago. But it's all belong.
Yeah, and as the other thing is look at Bill Clinton and Hillary. I mean, they took off with the China,
right,
from the White House.
They even took the W's off
seal.
and
they took the seal. They took the W's off of all the keys. Yeah. But
they talk about talking about he's we're semi-fascist because we don't want to accept the results of the last election, and that's a sign that democracy's under attack.
Didn't Hillary? Well, how about Al Gore? He couldn't accept.
Al Gore still hasn't accepted the results from Florida in that election against George Bush to this day. Stacey Abrams still has never conceded the race in Georgia from the last time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, who are you kidding? And Hillary Clinton it still says it was stolen. And it was all based on Comey coming out a couple of weeks before the election and saying that there was an investigation still going on. Well, there was an investigation still going on, and he never cleared her. She just lied on national television the other day, saying, "Wow, it's cleared of all that." No, you were not. They just chose not to prosecute you. Which they should have. She did. First, was not even the president. She's not supposed to have those documents. It's crazy. I mean, they didn't try to hide anything. No, they literally smashed their Blackberries with hammers.
Yeah. Yeah. The denial on their side, but it's okay because you see they're liberals. They're allowed,
right,
to the press allows them to lie to them and to lie about them. One good thing, and I hope it's true because it did come off a liberal show, but Hillary says she will not run for president again. But then again, she's lied about so damn many other things. No, that's the thing. Like I was going to say, she lies about so damn many other things. She probably lied about that too, but she says she doesn't want the job.
At the moment, I don't know if she's just trying to take the heat off President Biden for now. I don't know. And by the way, I call him Pete. He's not Biden and he's not Brandon. He's President Biden. He is the president of the United States. You got to have respect for the office, even if he's a doddering old, poopy pants. And so
he is the president. Yeah.
He is the president of the United States. You have to have respect for the office.
Or the office.
However, we're still counting down the days to get rid of him. I mean, it's not like we have this wonderful human being in office for 70 years that we can look up to and be the grandfather of our nation like England has.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an extra special guest. Finally, back from his long-winded vacation from the three conservative gimps. Let's welcome my special friend, all the way from Syracuse. He's the original Orange Man. It's Mike Roach. Welcome, Mike.
Finally, we got three gimps on the show. Yay!
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, welcome back.
It was named that for some reason.
Yeah.
I disappeared for the summer.
Yes, you
That's
did.
Understandable.
And welcome back.
Right.
Three gimps and a blimp.
Right.
Is that what we got?
Yeah. Well, people that don't know, Uncle Bill, when he was a teenager, he was an Ovaltine.
Oh, okay.
God.
Takes a while. Yeah.
That was one of those. It was a slow burn, It's like,
it gets there. And you got a job recently.
And thank you for this book, Lloyd.
Yeah, I know. That's my fault, guys. I apologize to everybody listening.
And I was not. I was a very thin teen, by the way. I'm getting my vape after that insult. I'll be right back. Please.
I'll be right back too.
Indulge yourself with my background while I'm gone.
Hello, Drone Rob. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Drone Rob. Welcome.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's all that is a distraction, and I think that's what it's being used for.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we stay focused.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they gotta distract us because the economy is shambles. Everything they touch has turned to shit, and it's like they got nothing to run on. And the ads that I've been watching on TV and on YouTube saying, "Oh, here's our King Polis, governor of Colorado, saying, hey, we gave us the biggest tax return in history." No, you didn't. That was supposed to happen because that's part of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. The only thing you guys did was you changed the date when that money was supposed to be given, because that was supposed to be done in January. No, they did it in August. That's where everybody got their $750 check, and if you're a married couple filed jointly, you got $1,500.
Yeah, of course they did it in August, towards the end of August, simply because they're getting close to the midterms, and hey, why not? Why not bribe the? That's really sad. They're bribing you people with your own damn money.
Yeah, but don't forget, the longer they hold it, the more interest they can.
Yeah, that's the interest they get to use. And
and now not only that, but they're touting, oh, we're the Freedom Party because we will not stand between you and whoever you want to marry or somebody you love. We won't stand between you and your doctor, which is a thinly veiled attempt at abortion. And no, but if you think about it, look at all the other freedoms they've taken away, like free speech, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. I mean, when they say they're the party of freedom, they're full of shit. I'm sorry, but I have to call it out. It's I'm throwing out the BS flag on that play. Mike, what say you?
Definite call BS on that as well. And I also want to apologize. I thought this began at 8:00.
Oh
no, this is
that explains my tardiness. So,
well,
sorry about that, Art. But
you didn't get the memo.
I was locked up in because of January 6th. I just got out. But
okay, yeah.
But yeah, I mean the whole leftist group in the last since they got in power and before, but since they got in power, they clearly have just been abusing everything. You know, it's really kind of frightening. It worries me about the upcoming election, not only this fall, but you know, they're already starting to raid people's residences besides President Trump. Even just donors and things like that.
I thought I saw
arresting people, put people in handcuffs in airports, and over failure to appear before Congress, which isn't even necessarily a law. And by the way, not the first person to do it, but just the first person to be arrested for it. So it's an incredible abuse of power and weaponizing our justice system against America.
Yeah, it's
and how about them dragging their feet when it came to a mediator
special master,
no, we don't want one of those. We don't need one of those. You can trust it. Why the hell is this our country? I mean, isn't the whole idea of all these checks and balances to protect us from the government? So because the government doesn't the government always say they're doing things in the people's best interest?
Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
No, I mean it starts as a soft sell, and we're your friend, and then eventually it gets worse and worse and worse. And do you think that Hitler just came out? Not to say that that our president is Hitler. Hitler was much smarter. Not to say, not to say. I mean, do you think the German people right off the bat said, "Yes, kill all the Jews. Yes, let's separate ourselves from the rest of the world. Yes, let's start." It all starts little by little by little by little, and it builds up to a totalitarian government.
And that started by making enemies or dehumanizing the Jewish people in terms of the Holocaust, and because German people are no different than anyone else. In fact, back then, they were a very highly educated population compared to the rest of the world, But our checks and balances are really, the founders knew this, only as good as the people who were in those positions. And, once the courts get taken over, there is no checks and balances anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And that's like this. They had, they went to their judge to get this warrant, so Trump had to go to his judge to get the master, but that's sort of like putting trying to put the stopper in the bottle after you've already dumped it upside down, because they've had that stuff long enough to have gone through everything,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, you could say that, but here's what happens if the master actually discounts or pulls out documents that then what they've done is they can't use it because it was in fact they can't actually it could turn out that the entire warrant is invalidated and nothing can be used. It's all fruit of the poison tree because
I was mentioning that earlier because of the Fourth Amendment.
Right.
Yeah.
It was way too broad. Take everything. Well, that's ridiculous. And you walked out of the building with legal documents. You walked out of the building with medical records, with passports. I mean, what did any of this have to do with anything? And we don't know what anything is because they refuse to let anybody know what anything is.
Right.
So, and instead they leak only like nuclear secrets. The hell out.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what danger Melania's panties were. What national security thing was,
Mm-hmm.
if it'd been Hillary's, I would have been scared to death. But, Melania's, I can't see where there's any danger in those,
Right.
But they took them.
Yeah,
why
especially
would they,
the thrill on Hillary.
They might give me a heart attack. They might give me a heart attack. So they could be dangerous.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know,
The thing is,
But
it's an overused analogy, but this really is frightening stuff when you've got the new president, so-called president, going after the guy before him because he's in a different party. That's never happened in our country. Nothing really ever like it has happened. And um, you know, McCarthy hearings maybe in terms of going after people, but that's scary stuff. I mean, and if it starts becoming a tit for tat situation, one party gets in, we round up the usual suspects, and
this is right out of Caligula.
it's right out of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right out of the Ukraine. No wonder he's got such an affinity for the Ukraine. For the Ukraine government, they did the same thing.
It reminds me of the Roman Empire, under Caligula.
And by the way,
really
that doesn't mean I support what Russia's doing to the poor Ukraine population. That's not at all.
No.
But that president's no hero.
Right.
It's just
right.
not.
Yeah. I think the closest thing I can see as far as a hatred from one president to the next, the closest I can compare to really in history was John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. I mean, he right up to his last breath, the last words John Adams said is that damn Jefferson's going to outlive me. He didn't know that he'd actually outlived him by about 2 hours.
Right.
And it was on July 4th, and they both died on the exact same day on July 4th.
I think it was 1826. 25. Yeah, 26 okay, because it was the 50th anniversary.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and they both they died on the and that was the hatred those two had. But the difference was see, when John Adams ran for president and he won, he ran against Jefferson. Guess who was his vice president? Thomas Jefferson, because the Constitution had it set up that way then.
Well, it brought the country together. It helped bring the country together too. I mean,
well, they always made the second in charge, or the second person down the line, was to become the vice president. And that's the way it was originally set up. That way you kind of had a balance of power that way in the executive branch. You didn't have one.
Uh-oh.
Stroked out. I think he stroked out.
Froze up.
Oh, Lloyd, you froze up. It's that Okie internet going there.
But yeah, now we have these tickets, president, vice president, where Lloyd was pointing out back in those days it was a different setup. Who knows which is better, but it really does frighten me for the future. It seems like this stuff, I always thought that our country was kind of doomed anyway with the politics the way it's going. It's not going to last another 100 years. I thought even 50 we're in really trouble. But the last 2 years, because of lockdowns and extra legal measures and stuff, it seems like the rule of law when it pertains to governments has just gone out the window.
Yeah.
I'm a little more optimistic than that. I mean, term limits help save this country because, I mean, if the red wave comes, if and when, not that I'm 100% behind all the people that are running. I'm more libertarian than Republican. Hopefully they can roll back some of what they did, but unfortunately they won't. 87,000 new IRS agents. Schutzstaffel, that's the new SS, by the way, armed IRS agents.
Oh yeah,
coming. They'll have enough, and they can write to your home and go through your paperwork. Where's your papers? I'll be right back.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm hoping if we do have the red wave, I'm hoping that the Republican Party doesn't say now we're going to do an investigation on the investigation. Don't waste your time on investigations until you have the country back. Once you have the country back on track and you've proven what you said you were going to do, then you can start the investigations. Once we have but if they first thing they do is they take over and all new investigations, that's a waste of time. Get the damn country running, fix the laws that have been passed that are breaking the country. Do what you got to do to make it. Make sure you got enough there that you can override a veto. When's the last time a veto's been overridden in a while? It's been I can't remember the last time. It's been a few years, that's for sure. That's what we need to be focused on. Then after we have secured the country, got it back to being a safer place, that gives the electorate or the people, they look at us and say, they did what they said they were going to do. Let's reelect them in 24 and let's go ahead and give them the presidency. That's what they're going to do.
I mean, it's looking at parallels. Isn't it frightening that for the first year of the presidency, not just him, but other Democrats looked at weakening local police forces, weakening local and state police forces. Now, people are saying, well, why would they possibly do that? Well, if things got bad enough, then they could mandate national police forces, to help supplement and ones that you can trust and rely on because they come from your friend and mine, the federal government. I mean, and that's again, look at the parallels with World War II. I mean, that's exactly what happened. I mean, don't you forget in World War II you had the brown shirts, which were more localized, and not that they were any good, but he screwed them over. And basically, and then the Gestapo took over. Little by little. Oh, you're crazy! It's all conspiracy. Well, who would have thought that the stuff that's going on today? Who would have believed that would happen in this country? And and you brought up abortion, and they didn't make abortion illegal, and that lie is being passed. Just send it back down to the states. Send it back down to the people who it affects the most. And just like a lot of there's always been a struggle between the state governments and the federal government.
Right. And the reason they're harping on abortion is because they have nothing else to sell.
Right.
All of their policies have been a miserable failure. So let's go with something that we can sell that they've been harping on. I mean,
because it rings true with women, and they're the ones that gave Colorado to the Democrats because they hated Trump so much that every statewide election that was held by Republicans got thrown out of office.
But they keep talking about but the way they word things that conservatives or Republicans are against women's reproductive health. Who the hell is against women's reproductive health?
Right.
I mean, spell those words out. Like we hate women and we want them to get sick, or we want them pregnant and chained in the bedroom, or something like that. It's insane. Nobody is pushing to make the pill illegal or any other contraceptive illegal. Nobody's pushing for any of that. And as far as how is an abortion got anything to do with reproductive health? It's probably the most destructive thing you could possibly do, not only to their body but to their minds. I mean, a lot of women go into that and come out of it a different person and regret it for the rest of their lives.
Right.
And it's all baloney.
But they can firebomb pregnancy centers who try and help women who are pregnant, maybe get them through the situation in a different way, and that's just not a big deal. And it's sickening.
Let one of us bomb an abortion clinic, and guess, all hell breaks loose. They want to put us all in jail. It's just like,
we should be in jail for bomb an abortion clinic. Anybody should be in jail.
Well, yeah. I mean, but what I'm saying is, they think everybody who is a conservative, or who's pro-life, are abortion bombers. Abortion clinic bombers. They lump it just like MAGA. Now we're what do you call us? We're extremist group. We're a dangerous anti-American extremist group. It's like
we're a threat to democracy, semi-fascists.
Semi-fascist,
semi-fascist,
and we smell funny. That's coming. That's coming.
That's like semi-sweet chocolates in your chocolate chip cookies.
Thing is, it's everything that like
We're
Biden said.
for political violence. What did any conservative do to promote political violence? You have Chuck Schumer saying you have reaped, you have sowed the wind, and you will reap that. You're the threatening the Supreme Court. Are you? God, I'm sorry, but the things that have come out of these people's mouths, the threatening stuff that has come out of these people's mouths, and President Trump's did he promote standing up and using your voice and questioning the election results? They all do that. Every single one that's lost has done that.
They did it in 2016 after that election.
Many of us still believe that the election was stolen. It shouldn't have been as close as it was, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at the record of the dim bulb that I'm sorry, Mr. President, I apologize. I don't want to, I don't want to go to hell. It's hard to believe 78 million people voted for this numbnuts. He was a dimwit when he was vice president. How did we get this guy as president?
He was a bad senator 30 years ago. The guy's always been a jerk.
Yeah.
And a racist. I mean, all the things, that's one thing Kamala Harris was right about when in the debates was, he's best buds with the Ku Klux Klan Kleedle.
Right. Don't forget you got a media that's compliant with the Democrats, and they're propping up the Joe Biden.
Yeah.
They're not even questioning anything that he's done. That's
I never thought I'd see it. In my lifetime, I never thought I'd see anything like this. Although I was starting to see hints of it. I think back in 2000 under the Al Gore and W election.
Yeah.
I thought this isn't sounding right. Because we're talking about, I mean, who can forget hanging chads? I mean, that's in the dictionary now, It's like, come on, it just was.
I lived in Florida. I lived in Florida at the time. What nobody ever talks about? I believe there were 15,000 Haitians that were bused and illegally voted in that election down here in Florida.
Yeah.
That Florida election wasn't nearly as close as. They also refused to accept tens of thousands of, or not tens of, but at least thousands, maybe tens of thousands of ballots, overseas ballots from our military.
Yeah, they weren't. I remember that.
Military, yeah. Well, the military didn't postmark their mail. They put it from the guys that were serving overseas. And it has to be postmarked before a certain date. These don't have postmark, and they didn't allow them.
But that doesn't work.
They knew that 70% would vote for Bush. So I'm sorry, for Bush. So they were all for disenfranchising those voters. So
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a head shaker. That's all I can say. I just never thought I'd see something like this in history. But
you try to make people actually verify a signature, get an ID. You need ID to buy a pack of friggin' cigarettes, but it's unconstitutional to expect somebody to prove who he is before he votes in our country. I mean, that's insane. It's ridiculous. And by the way, it's incredibly racist and demeaning of them to think that a person in this country can't get a damn ID. And you talk about relief for people, low-income people around the country, as far as getting them money and food and whatever, and support and medicine and this and that. Well, they all need IDs to get that stuff. So why is that?
It's actually insulting to anybody to say that they're incapable of getting an ID.
The whole thing with Georgia, like that's why I stopped watching baseball. They moved the All-Star game because Georgia started in, and by the way, when you look at the in entirety with the law that they changed, it made it easier to vote. It actually made there were more districts, there were more places to vote, but because they required
turnout.
But not all people of low income can afford ID. What are you talking about? Can't afford to get an ID? Oh, by the way, Georgia has it so if you're a low income person, you get your state ID for free.
Yep,
for free. So what is it? That's the problem. What's the problem? You're afraid when you go to get your ID, they're going to discover you have a criminal record. You're not allowed to vote to begin with. Is that what you're worried
Yeah,
about?
as a matter of fact, I got to get a new driver's license this month, and this is the first year I get it for free. I've finally reached that age that I get my driver's license for free. So that's
Yeah.
$14 I'm going to save.
You'll keep that one on the stone tablet though, right? Like
Yeah. My
Yeah,
first one. Yeah,
that's
the
right.
one that's chiseled out. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, it's what hurt my hip and my back so much is carrying that big stone tablet driver's license.
There you
Yeah.
that's for you for getting your driver's license.
Driver's license.
So,
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
more valuable than that.
I hope they put a red light on top so we could get the hell out of your way when you drive down the road and the siren. There's
I
one.
got new
Get the
eyes.
hell
Yeah.
out of the way.
Yeah.
I think the free fishing license is more valuable.
Yep.
Oh, I've already
I
got
got
that.
one of those too.
Yeah, I've got a free fishing and hunting license. So.
Yep.
But you need, it helps to have the free driver's license so you can drive to where you fish. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm pretty lucky in Oklahoma because my tags are like $5,
Wow.
and
Mine were almost $90 for mine.
yeah.
Do you have a state income tax?
Oh, in Oklahoma, yeah.
Oh, then on that.
But I don't pay income tax. So
Oh, well, that's helpful. Not even to the state.
nope,
They don't tax your Social Security income.
they don't tax my income from the veterans. So, and I don't
Mm.
make enough on Social Security to be taxed. And because it's compensation, they can't tax it. If it was I forgot whatever type of retirement it is. If it's the other type, yeah, they could tax me. They would split the difference. They would kind of divide it between my Social Security. But as it is, my VA is covered. It's 100. It's 100% non-taxable, and thus my Social Security becomes non-taxable because I don't make enough.
Well, God bless Florida. No state income tax, no inheritance tax, up to like
Yeah.
$11 million. The heck else? I don't know. I'll think of it.
right.
Yeah.
Florida's got so much going on that's good. Isn't there also tuition covered for the state schools in Florida for
I'm too
college?
old. I'm too old for that, so I don't know. From what I understand, not for. I think for state schools, you can, and you're a state resident,
Yeah.
you get.
Yeah.
You can get. Yeah, Florida's got a lot of good stuff going on. It's a good
Yeah.
place to live. People
Yeah.
are, I don't want to live there.
Your
It's too
homes
muggy.
weren't so expensive.
It's too muggy. You think it's too muggy here? You walk down the streets of New York. If you think, do you think it's muggy? You'll get muggy. You'll get muggied.
Hey, it's
Yeah.
getting
I live in
muggy here
Oklahoma.
in
Muggy
Denver
doesn't bother
too.
me. Yeah. I live in Oklahoma. We got more lakes around here, so this part of the state is really muggy. So
Yep.
Really? I didn't think. I thought Oklahoma was dry everywhere. I've only been through there once or twice. So.
the western half is pretty dry, but the eastern half is. I live in the northeast part,
Yeah, because you have
central and north
Arkansas
and-
River.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we've got like 10 or 15 lakes around us. This is called green country because we don't even water our lawns.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough humidity and dew and rain. We don't have to water. I don't think I've watered my lawn in 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
But we run
California,
60-70% humidity.
You can't water your lawn either.
yeah.
They just won't let you. Or charge your electric cars that they're going to mandate everybody have.
Yeah.
Right.
That's incredible. They don't have the power grid to handle it, and they're going to force everybody to get it. I swear to God, because electric cars have limited range. I mean, if you've got the money,
Yeah.
you can get one that'll go over 300 miles. But those are sick expensive. Typically, it's in the 200s when all is said and done, especially if there's any hills
Right.
in your state.
And with all that,
so many people are leaving California that they're doing this so that you can't escape.
Can't leave California. Yeah.
Right.
You run out of electricity right at the border. Turn
with
around.
electric cars too. We all know this, but the whole green thing, what it takes to make the electric cars and the batteries for the electric cars, the mining of materials, cobalt, and lithium, and other things. The disposal of those things, generation of electricity, they're not as nearly as green, so to speak, as they make out to be.
And what do you need to get those things out of the ground? Shovels, that are powered by
diesel engines.
Diesel? Yeah.
Slave labor in Africa too, and
there is that.
That's
they're scarring the earth. They're ripping the shit out of it. They're burning fossil fuels. They're buying it from countries that have actually no restrictions on how much pollution they throw up in the air.
Right.
And if batteries that are going to last how long? And you have to replace them. And
5 years, 10 top.
The thing is, I think the agenda is not to get us all into electric vehicles. It's to have most of us not have vehicles of our own.
Vehicles at all. Public transportation.
Yeah, mass transit. Yep.
Or bicycles.
Or just live like a serf instead of a free, independent person.
Mm-hmm.
That's it right there. Yeah. They've been planning this. I think, honestly, they've been planning this since the McCarthy era. I think they've been planning this kind of a revenge, because each time they get in power, it gets worse. I mean, at least with Bill Clinton, we had some entertainment. The comedians had all sorts of, if you were in the cigar business, you made a fortune during Bill Clinton's time.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because he was selling all those humidors.
Yes, that's right.
50 tons of ore per set of Tesla batteries for one car.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and let's not forget. Where's the electricity being produced? The majority to this day in California of power is being produced by natural gas. So I know they've got wind farms, they got this, that, and the other thing, but they're not powering very much of that state.
Oh, and they're closing all their nuclear plants.
Right. Yeah, they're getting ready to close. They've closed one already, and they're getting ready to close another one here.
Yep.
San Luis Obispo, I think that's how you say it. I think they got one there that they're getting ready to shut down.
Yeah, El Diablo.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be it's going to be impossible to charge those cars,
Yep.
And they're already having rolling blackouts there. And look at what Europe is going through right now. I mean, they're gearing up for.
They're and it's worse than the summer right now is more people die in the winter, and they're not going to be able to afford to heat their homes in Europe. It's going to be a disaster this year.
And President Trump specifically warned the Germans not to get hooked on Russian stuff. They laughed at him.
The whole EU. He sat with them and warned them what was going to do not rely on them. And what did they? They invested their money in it. They invested in that pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And plus,
that's
we
what
were
makes
selling them our oil and natural gas. And now we can't do that because we can't produce our own.
Well, not only if we reopen the XL pipeline again, if we actually started giving out, they're talking about the leasing of the properties, but we're not giving the permits so that they can drill. So that's the other half of the lie. And they're allowing them to lease properties that they don't even know if there's any oil on. They still have to do exploration and not giving them permits to do that. So if we went back to our old policies, not only can we bring our own fuel down, they say you have nothing to run on. Well, we're going to have nothing to run on soon. But anyway, not only can we help us, we can help our allies in Europe by selling them cheap, clean energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Oklahoma, we've got Oklahoma, Texas got our resource pool is bigger than what's in Saudi Arabia right now, because they finally came out, that Saudi Arabia doesn't have near as much as they were bragging that they did.
They say if you include fracking, there's enough gas, there's enough fuel in the United States to power us for the next 300 years.
Yeah,
there's no emergency. It's not here. It's not happening. It's not. not there.
Right.
Yeah.
And with all that time, we truly could possibly transition. We almost definitely would transition to some other technology.
Renew
to get
new.
around.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. How about actual efficient hydrogen engines that
Yeah.
the waste product is water,
Right.
water vapor. You know, I mean, yeah, that'd be
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah.
I would be all for that. You know, I mean, anybody who's got any brains would be for. But we do not have the technology now. It's sort of like we can't sit around and pretend we're on the $6 million man show and say we have the technology. No, we don't. Not yet.
Right.
You know,
Besides, how did his human leg keep up with the mechanical leg? I never
I
got
never understood that. You know,
Yeah.
I expected to see him hopping around like a
right.
you know on a pogo stick.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
You only had
Look.
one mechanical leg.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
The eye, the leg, and an arm. I think.
Yeah.
Well, never
yeah,
mind that. How about his back? I mean, you know, you
Oh,
you
yeah,
just take
yeah.
off like that. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
stop. Right, you know,
Yeah.
push things,
None of it.
push cars over and like that. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And he could
Yeah.
jump off of bridges and buildings,
Oh yeah.
land on
yeah.
his feet. Oh,
Well, and the reason is the technology. Once he started activating all that, it slowed down time so that he landed softer, and they played that really cool music while he was
right,
doing it.
right.
Right.
Yeah,
I think it was the music that slowed him down.
Right.
it probably was.
But
You gotta admit, if you've ever seen that show, you won't forget that sound.
No,
Mm.
you have
you know
to do it in the leisure.
wait, real quick before I get another a little pop. None of the pop. It's pop. That's all it is. It's just pop. Anyway, isn't it funny that in California there's news stories how people are using gas generators to charge their electric cars right now?
Yeah. Mhm.
I
Right.
mean, the dirtiest possible motor you could absolutely run is
Exactly.
a
Gas generator. Yeah.
And the thing is, it's the coastal elites, you know, the big cities, Frisco,
Right.
LA, all them who are really voting. There's so many good people in California who
There are
and
like
just
our friend Steve Carpenter.
right, Steve, you know, prime example of people who, you know, can think straight and don't go for this stuff. But unfortunately, just like here in New York, because of the elephant in the room, New York City, you know, leftists get voted in, and you know, I a little hope for the governor's office, but not much
Yeah.
this year. And you know, and our current governor is worse than, at least as bad as Cuomo, if not worse.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you know, this stuff is all under the Davos kind of you will own nothing and you will like it, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. I was right out of 1984.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it's Orwellian, and you know, and I hadn't read that book in a long time. I actually watched the the movie 1984 based off of that book. And even as long ago as that movie was made, it was creepy. You know,
The one that with Richard Burton, and
yeah,
because they made one
Yeah.
back in the 50s too, I believe.
yeah.
Which was actually pretty good for its time.
Yes. I think that might have been the one I saw. I can't remember.
It was black and white.
Yeah. I'm trying to think which one I watched. Yeah, I think it must have been that one.
Yeah, John Hurt was Winston Smith,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Richard Burton was O'Brien.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we are fastly approaching an hour and a half on this show. So I think we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming to the show. Next week, it looks like we're going to have former Congressman Thaddeus McCotter join us. So it should be a really interesting show. He's quite a
always
character.
interesting. Yeah,
and
he's always interesting.
Bill, you'll like him. You'll like him. So everybody in the chat, thank you for coming. I want to thank you guys for coming to the show, Mike. Even though you were tardy, we'll let you slide.
Hey, he was here, so we're happy to have him.
Yeah.
I'll give you some of my
Bill?
carbon credits.
All I got to say is Soylent Green is people.
All right, take care, everybody, and have a great Sunday.
Yep.
God bless you, and
The
stay
food
safe
shortage.
out there. Vote Republic. Bye-bye.